Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. This is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and examine the stories and the art. So this time, I'm going to take a look at this book. This is Skull the Slayer, number 8, from 1976. And it says here, "This God must die." With a really cool Jack Kirby Jack Kirby drawn cover. I have no idea who did the inks, but at that time it was quite possibly Mike Royer. Could be any host of any others. The face kind of makes me think of John Romita Sr., but I can't be sure. I don't know. This is written by Bill Mantlo, with art by Sal Buscema and Sonny Trinidad. And for those who don't know, Skull is a science fiction fantasy character appearing in Marvel Comics and debuting in his first issue of the self-titled series in 1975. He was created by Marv Wolfman and Steve Gann, and the series ran for 8 bi-monthly issues in 75 and 76. That means this is the last issue. Oh, I've been coming across that with several others. He later popped up in other series such as Quasar, Fantastic Four, X-Men, Squadron, and Squadron Supreme. And Skull is James Patrick Scully, who is a former soldier and Vietnam era soldier, and he was a POW for several years. And he's the bearer of the Scorpion Power Belt, which he acquires somehow in the course of this series, in the first issue I get, which gives him superhuman strength and other powers. As a passenger on a plane, went through a space-time warp in the Bermuda Triangle. He and his 3 companions are marooned in an alternate Earth inhabited by dinosaurs, primitive humans, and aliens. And they were eventually rescued by the Fantastic Four, and he had other fantastical adventures back in the real world, and I guess at one point or other he was plopped back in this dino world. And I don't know his current status situation. But I enjoyed this series. I had right now I think this is probably the only issue that I've got. I may have one other, but I'm not positive. And I had several of them at the time. I think I probably had all 8 at the time. But it's disappointing when you get interested in a character and a storyline, and then you suddenly come up, boom, that's it. That's the end. You feel like you've wasted your time and your money because it comes to an end with no resolution. So. Now, and I said it was written by Bill Mantlo. You might remember him. I mentioned him before. He was a frequent writer of all kinds of things, and by all accounts, a good one through the 70s and 80s. And he, while he was working as a comic writer, he was also going to law school, attaining a degree, and became a public defender in New York. And just a few years after that, he was in an accident. I think he was hit by a truck. I'm not positive, and which caused a severe brain injury, and whether he was comatose or what, I don't know, but he spent the rest of his life in an institution, which is very sad. And the penciler is, as I said, Sal Buscema. That's brother of John Buscema, and always in his brother's shadow. But he was a very skilled, very qualified, and artist in his own right. Maybe he was in his older brother's shadow so much, largely because he kind of did stuff that John couldn't do because he was busy with something else, and their two styles at least bore a strong resemblance to one another. But in this case, it did a very, very good job. I like the artwork in here. I think the two, the penciler and the inker with Sonny Trinidad, they worked very, very well together in here. Good visual storytelling, and with inks, Sonny Trinidad's inks, I think he did very nicely with his strong illustrative lines and a good sense of drama, adding a good sense of drama to an image, and some light and shadow, and very good at portraying some very bright lights in here, which I think you may see as we go through it. Go Skull the Slayer, of course, starts off always right in the middle of something, but, well, it's the beginning, but it's right at the end of something else. Riders on the Sky, and this is like a Mayan civilization that had got sucked through time and wound up here, and there are other out of place beings and entities and civilizations all throughout. And here, this is I think it's Mayan, but it is this civilization is being led by a man who is not a Mayan. He was a Navy pilot, Captain Cochrane, a naval aviator from the World War II era. And so, but you can see it's a very nice texture and shading here on with the inks and on the steps and everything. It's all very impressive. And they're having a celebration, dancing, because they just had some big challenge, and Skull had persevered, just as Cochrane had. And here he takes off this mask and finds that half of his face is covered. And Skull is, he's leery about this fellow to begin with. The others kind of embrace him readily enough. They're having the celebration. Two of his companions, his male companions here, are with him, and they're trying to get a little bit friendly with some of the native ladies. And then we get a brief flashback that because of this power belt he's got that he can't even remove, he defeated some menace, and the high priest who was in charge. Here's Jeff trying to get real friendly with this girl, but her dad intervenes. Oh, yes. Don't try to kiss the little girl in front of Daddy. Oh, hi. And then Skull snatches him, basically saving him. And they worship, because these people worship I can't remember the name of the god, Cochrane as a god, and now Skull as a god. And here we see little hints, something coming up and about to happen. This whole issue only takes place over just a few minutes time, and they go into the temple, into the pyramid, and again you can see the nice work. I don't know if you, especially here in this image here, if I can get it to focus a little bit. Yeah, the nice work done here by the inker, giving texture and light and shadow. And they're coming in here and see all these called imagery of this world, and this scientist guy, he says So this is an incredible skull. The art forms are traditional Inca. Okay, they're Incas, not Mayas. But carried so much further than those forms we are aware of, and part of it tells the story of Cochrane. Has the plane flying in, and his plane flying through the portal, and his story. And it is here they're in this great atrium here, beautifully and spectacular atrium, and the judgment hall of the gods, with this oculus in the ceiling, great oculus in the ceiling, a big hole letting in the light. And that is kind of disturbing for Scully, because it reminds him of the pit that he was caged in as a POW in Vietnam. Then the female member of their group reappears with some new duds of some kind. No explanation of where she got them, even though they question her, where'd you get the duds? So, and apparently she and Skull are a bit of a thing. And they keep getting these menacing images of riders on these pterosaurs. Then we flash to the dungeon where the former high priest is chained up, and here comes his jailer, the turnkey, comes to feed him. But the high priest, he's actually a sorcerer of some kind, and he tries to overcome the man's mind, but he does resist, and just enough in time to abuse his prisoner, but some hooded figures come in. Who are you? Oh, Viracocha, preserve me. That's who is Viracocha. They think Cochrane is Viracocha. And then apparently it's a jaguar that leaps upon him. And the high priest is freed. Then we see riders coming out of the sky on the pterosaurs, right out of the brightness of the sun. But no one knows about it yet. And still in that judgment chamber, they're talking with Cochrane, and we get a flashback here because he tells his story. It turns out that he was basically a map maker for the Navy, but he was called into service as part of a rescue team, because it's a famous Flight 19 that was lost. And actually described what is now called the Bermuda Triangle. Their flight was the triangular form, and is very famous. If you know the airplanes they discovered at the beginning of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Yeah, that's the flight that has gone missing, and he is one of the searchers. And his plane is one of the planes that went missing, looking for that flight. Then we see, now they're coming out of the sky. The guard sees them while we're still getting the flashback. And his plane crashes in the jungle. His face is horribly burned. And that's as far as we get in his story, because they're under attack. Arrows, 4 pages straight of ads. Arrows from the sky, and you see the shadows, all this. It's kind of mysterious, and they're fighting back, but they're surprised, outnumbered, and outflanked. Well, this is when Cochrane removes his mask and sees that his face, how horribly scarred his face is. Just when one of the guards rushes in and says, "We're under attack," and then thunk, he gets an arrow in the throat, because they're flying down through the oculus into that chamber. Woo! And this is the first time we actually see the riders. They are armored. Man, this one here looks like he's from some Asian medieval type period. But here we see other armored from different armored warriors from apparently different time periods and different parts of the world. So they're fight. Use one of the tapestries on the wall to take down a couple of the pterosaurs, but to little avail. Then the high priest, he reappears with his flanking minions. The Cochrane gets an arrow in his side, so he's not killed, at least not immediately, but he is injured. But he said, but if you're a god, you can never let him see you bleed. And because while Skull and his companions are fighting these warriors, and finally, this is the first actual action we see from Skull in this issue, and he rips that stone throne right out of the ground, about to hurl it, but the high priest uses a little bit of magic, clunks him with that stone vase. He's out of commission, and everyone is trapped. Dun dun dun, what's going to happen next? We don't know, because this is the last issue. Ah! So that's what happened with Skull. Skull the Slayer. That's how that run ended. But I always enjoyed Skull. I liked it. Because we don't really get to see him. He had earlier encounters directly with some dinosaurs and stuff, and these pterosaurs that these guys are riding is about all the closest we actually see to any of that. So that's all I've got for you. It's out of focus. Why is it out of focus? That's all I've got for you this time. Please like, share, and subscribe. Do leave your comments down below. Did you get to read any of these Skull books? What did you think of them? Did you like them? Did you not like them? Do you think Skull was just crap? Any of that, let me know in the comments down below. And remember, comics are art.